A high performer does not fail because he lacks intensity. He fails because he applies intensity in the wrong stage. That's not a motivational line. That is a physical law. And if you've ever built real momentum, lost the weight, felt a clicking, and then watched the reverse inside 6 months, that law is the only honest explanation you've ever been given. Not willpower, not schedule, not stress. Wrong stage. And if you're here for motivation, for hacks, for a friendly program walkthrough, this isn't for you. This show is for the man who built a company, who understands pressure, for a man who built something, who knows what execution looks like, and whose physical standard no longer matches the man he believes himself to be. If that's you, stay with us. Previous attempts did not collapse randomly. They collapsed in sequence. And this episode will show you the order your body has been demanding and the exact point where previous attempts broke. Not so you can feel informed, so you stop confusing hard work with the right work. Every high-performing man who comes back to his physical standards moves through a predictable sequence. Not a motivational arc, not a mindset journey, a psychological and physical sequence that the body requires in the order it requires it. The men who understand the sequence move through it with precision. They know what it produces. They know why the next stage cannot start before the current one is complete. The men who don't understand it, and most don't, apply maximum effort in the wrong direction and wonder why the result doesn't hold. Here's where it gets precise. This man, the man the show is built for, is extraordinarily at sequencing in business. Extraordinary, rather. It's extraordinary at sequencing in business. He knows the order things have to happen. He would not scale his ad spend before the offer converts. He would not hire a sales team around the broken sales process. He would not expand operations before cash flow is stable. He would not confuse a revenue spike with a stable company. He knows the difference between something working once and something built to hold. But with his body, the same man skips foundations, chases visible results, rushes stages, confuses intensity with precision, confuses short-term control with a standard that holds under the conditions his life actually creates. He wants stage 3 results with stage 1 foundations. And then he calls it a discipline problem when it reverses. It was never a discipline problem. It was a sequencing problem. He built a company by understanding that the order of operations is non-negotiable. He would never try to sustain a business that hasn't been stripped of inefficiency first. He would never build a sales function on top of an undefined product. The sequence is the system. Without it, effort produces noise. The body operates on the same logic. The body does not reward ambition applied out of order, and it keeps the receipts. The mirror receipt. Picture this. You're in a hotel bathroom, late. Client dinner just finished. You've been on for 4 hours. Sharpest version of yourself. Precise, present, authoritative. You close the bathroom door. You look in the mirror. Not the version they saw. The one you live in. And somewhere in that moment, very quietly, a thought moves through. I'm not starting again. I'm just getting back on track. That thought felt like a decision. It wasn't. The man who built what you've built has had that thought before, multiple times. And the gap between the man in the boardroom and the man in the mirror is still there. Not because he didn't mean it, because he kept applying the wrong work to the wrong stage and calling it a fresh start. Wrong stage, wrong work, wrong result. Every time. In business, if the foundation has a crack, he doesn't paint over it. He fixes the crack first. But with his body, he's been painting over cracks for years. Each time the paint peels, he buys better paint, a stricter protocol, a higher-end approach, a more extreme intervention. The crack is still there. The crack is the sequence he violated. For a while now, this show has been naming the gap, the exemptions, the justifications, the borrowed standards, the suit jacket that fits in the shoulders and pulls across the stomach, the expensive watch on the wrist and the softness underneath the shirt, the man who manages payroll, pressure, clients, cash flow, and risk, then uses the logic of a teenager with his nutrition. Some of it landed, some of it got filed away. But over 16 episodes, something shifted. Not toward motivation, not toward guilt, towards recognition. A recognition that the gap is real, that the standard applied in every other room has not been applied here, that the man who built what he built is capable of building this too. And somewhere in that recognition, a thought surfaced. I looked better before, but I don't know how I got here. I looked better before, but I don't actually know how I got there. This is the most honest thing a man in this position can admit. Because if he doesn't know how he built it, he cannot build it again without repeating the same mistake. That confusion is not weakness. It is evidence that the previous stage was never completed. The result disappeared because it was never structurally held. It was a visit, not a standard. A man who sees that clearly is not defeated by it. He has run out of places to hide. The collapse pattern, it starts the same way every time. The first 2 weeks, the scale moves faster than expected. That particular clarity that comes with decision. The meals dialed in, the morning routine intact, the numbers going in the right direction. He checks the mirror differently now. Not the resigned glance, the assessing look. And something shifts. The shirt that was tight across the chest last quarter, it fits. Not perfectly, but it fits. He notices. And then quietly, someone else notices. A comment at dinner, a remark from someone who hasn't seen him in 6 weeks. You look well. 2 words. But for a man who has been privately carrying the gap between who he is in the boardroom and who he is in the mirror, 2 words will land harder than they should. And this is where it happens. He starts to believe he's got it back. Not consciously, he would not say that out loud, but the decision-making changes. He adds more cardio, more restriction, more intensity, more sessions. He's not building, he is accelerating. Because a business instinct has taken over and the signal is clear. This is working. Scale it. And the body responds for a while. The mirror keeps changing. The confidence compounds. He starts wearing shirts he hasn't reached for in 2 years. He books a trip without dreading the pool. He moves into his day with a different posture. He tells himself, this time is different. Then the quarter ends. A client situation that needs 3 weeks of full attention. A run of flights, London, Dubai, back, Frankfurt, back. The airport lounges, the hotel restaurants, the client dinners where being the man with a different standard at the table full of celebration would become a statement he is not willing to make. He tells himself, I'll tighten up when I get back. He said that before. See? Here's what he does not understand yet. The result was real. The change was real. The momentum was real. But ownership was not. The structure he built in those first 8 weeks was real. But the foundation underneath it was incomplete. The operating system had not finished resetting. The metabolic signals that had not stabilized. The new patterns had not become default. What he built was real. What he built it on was not ready. So when life returned, not catastrophe, just life, travel, dinners, pressure, the normal conditions of a man's existence, of an entrepreneur's existence. The body did what it always does to an incomplete structure. It returned to the last completed standard. Not out of betrayal, out of architecture. Wait, that word, completed. He had not completed the stage. He had passed through it quickly enough to see results and confused momentum with completion. He mistook intensity for architecture. He saw the mirror change and called it done. It was not done. Visible progress is not ownership. The body lets you see the results before it lets you own it. 6 months later, different wardrobe strategy, same avoidance. The suit jacket chosen for how it falls across the shoulders, the shirt untucked when it would have been tucked the year before. Standing slightly back in the group photo, seeing the tagged picture from the dinner from 3 angles he did not expect, and quietly deciding not to repost it. That's the receipt. He did not lose a result. He exposed the stage he skipped. That was not transformation. That was a visit. And the man who keeps visiting the same result without ever completing the stage that would let him own it keeps paying for the same shortcut. Twice. Every time. The collapse was not random. It was sequenced. Pressure did not create the problem. Pressure revealed the structure. There is an order, and now it gets named. The 4 stages are called strip, sculpt, shred, sustain. That's not a program. That is the order. And before naming what each stage does, understand this. The names are precise. They describe exactly what the stage requires and what happens to the man inside it. They are not branding. They are architecture. Strip is not weight loss. Strip is the removal of excess. Not just physical excess, though there is physical excess. Strip is removing the false normal. The pattern that passed for a routine, but were never a strategy. The inflammation, the hormonal noise, the metabolic dysfunction over that years of irregular eating, irregular sleep, irregular pressure responses have created. Strip is resetting the operating system before anything is built on top of it. You try to scale a physique before you build the operating system. That was not ambition. That was avoidance wearing a better suit. Sculpt is not bulking. Sculpt is rebuilding the frame, adding muscle, restoring shape, creating the physical architecture of authority, the posture, the breadth, the density that breathes in a room before a word is spoken. The body a man carries into a boardroom, a private dinner, or a negotiation changes the dynamic before the conversation starts. Sculpt is building that deliberately with precision. Most men in this position have never been told that muscle is the mechanism, not the goal. The goal is authority. Muscle is how the body holds it. Shred is not a crash diet. Shred is refinement. It is revealing the standard that Strip prepared and Sculpt built. It is precision work. The kind of precision a man of this caliber applies to everything else in his life. Shred does not break the man's life. It does not require him to live like a professional athlete. It requires standards, not sacrifice. The difference between those two things is everything. Sustain is not maintenance. Maintenance is what men who never completed the sequence are always doing. Sustain is ownership. The standard becomes normal. The body holds inside travel dinners, or rather, the body holds inside travel, dinners, high pressure quarters, business cycles, and real life because the foundation was built to hold it. Sustain is the difference between a man who reaches a standard and a man who lives at one. 4 stages, each one precise, each one non-negotiable, each one building on the one before it. Stage 1 was skipped or rushed, and stage 2 inherited that weakness. And stage 3 required a foundation stage 2 didn't fully lay. And somewhere in stage 3, or at the edge of it, the whole structure reversed. That was not failure. That was the sequence correcting itself. The body always returns to the last standard it actually owns. You were not behind. You were out of sequence. Before the stages begin, one thing must be understood. The business instinct is the enemy of this sequence. Not because it's wrong, because it's applied to the wrong system. Stage 1 produces visible results before the foundation is complete. The mirror changes, the clothes shift, a signal arrives, and the instinct that built the business says, accelerate. That instinct has never been wrong in business. In this sequence, it is the trap, because speed is not the same thing as completion. He looks at himself and thinks, maybe I only know how to lose weight under pressure. No. He knows how to apply intensity. He never lacked effort. He lacked order. Visible progress is not proof of completion. The body lets you see the result before it lets you own it. Every skip stage becomes interest-bearing debt. Not paid immediately, paid later with compounding when the next stage can't hold. This is not patience, this is precision. You did the work in the wrong stage. You did not build a standard, you rented control. Impatience dressed as discipline is still impatience. The sequence has a pace. The pace is not optional. You cannot negotiate with sequence. The stage you avoid becomes the stage you repeat. The man who skips a stage always pays for it. The price is starting again. Most men don't fail because the work is too hard. They fail because they were in the wrong stage doing the wrong work. The sequence removes your excuses. Not because it makes the work easier, because it makes a lie harder to keep. No more calling impatience discipline. No more mistaking movement for completion. No more repeating approaches that were always the wrong fit and pretending the problem was the calendar. The stage becomes visible. The failure point becomes visible. The shortcut becomes visible. And once a man sees the stage he skipped, he cannot unsee the cost. This time has to hold. And that is the difference now. Not hope, not hype, not another 12-week sprint. Architecture. The mirror does not care what stage he thought he was in. The sequence does not care how hard he worked. Pressure exposes the stage he skipped. And now, for the first time, he knows what that means. For a while now, this show has been doing one thing, naming the gap, why it exists, what it costs, what keeps it in place. That work was not optional. That work was not optional. A man who starts a physical program without understanding what got him there will end up here again, faster than he expects. But the man who has sat with the diagnosis, who has seen the justifications early, who has recognized the exemptions he approved, who has felt the incongruence before the life he built and the body carrying it, that man is ready for a different outcome. Not because he's motivated, because he understands. Understanding survives what motivation negotiates with it. Rather, understanding survives what motivation negotiates with. It does not evaporate when the quarter gets hard. It does not disappear when the travel schedule returns. It does not collapse under the breadbasket or the airport lounge or the late dinner when everyone is ordering and he tells himself he'll tighten up when he gets back. It is always there, underneath everything, reminding the man of what he decided to become. Strip, sculpt, shred, sustain. A diagnosis has done its job. Recognition has landed. Now the audit begins. Stage 1 is next. Strip, and it will expose every shortcut you thought was strategy. If this landed, you need to hear you didn't lose discipline, you approved the exception. Same pattern, different scenario, will show you where else this is showing up. This is Iron Suits, where strength wears a crown. Next episode, Stage 1, Strip. Why most fat loss fails before it starts. If this episode hit a nerve, if this episode made you think, then share it with another leader who's a little bit soft. As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Make sure you follow me on my socials. I am on Facebook under Marwan Killu, LinkedIn Marwan Killu Fitness. You can watch this on YouTube under Marwan Killu. And make sure to subscribe to the show so that you get notifications when new episodes go live. Until next time, have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon.